Awesome. Jarvey, thank you very much for joining us.
Hi Mo, yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So you are the CEO of Sable, a customer of Griffin. How about we start off with you telling the audience what Sable is and what do you do?
Sure. Well, Saible is a payment system for construction and development projects. Construction has a big problem paying each other, companies paying each other, and Sable solves that by providing parallel payments so that the whole supply chain gets paid at once.
Wow. Okay. That is, um, I know a tiny bit about the construction industry, and from what I understand, is that supply chain can be very long and quite complicated. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tiered supply chain, so you'll have a client at
Okay.
the top and main contractor and people underneath them, but that can be 7 tiers deep, and you might have 40 companies in each of those tiers on larger
Wow.
projects. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, getting cash to move through that as it's supposed to do is quite challenging. And
Mhm.
the sector has a lot of problems, uh, both business related and sort of actually personal problems resulting from that.
Yeah. What if we dive into those problems a little bit, is it kind of is it late payments? Is it kind of misdirected payments? Like what are the kind of basket of problems that you typically see in the industry? Yeah.
Um, Late and non-payment are
Right.
big
Right.
problems, and uh, both of them may or may not be associated with payments going elsewhere or with money going elsewhere rather than payments going elsewhere,
Okay.
strictly speaking. So it's I'm not from the sector originally. I'm from technology backgrounds originally.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and when I first found out about this problem, um, I was amazed to discover that enormous infrastructure projects and skyscrapers and things, um, the way that people pay is basically the same as it would be if you or I were doing a kitchen extension, which is just nuts. So, if it's your house, you borrow some money from the bank for your kitchen extension, and the bank
Yeah.
goes, "Can we lend this to you? Are you going to use it for a kitchen extension?" You say, "Yeah." We go, "Okay, great." And then they put the money in your bank account, and then you take on a builder and you
Yeah.
get the builder to do some work for you, and then you put some of that money into their bank account, and then the builder's got a plumber working for him, and
Yeah.
he'll put some money into the plumber's bank account for the work that the plumber's done, and the plumber has a labourer working for them, so then the
Right.
plumber puts some money into the labourer's bank account, so the money goes from the bank to the householder to the builder to the plumber to the labourer. And then just imagine that, but on a scale of 7 tiers and 40 companies wide. Um, so the problem is that the householder at the top, you or I, might borrow the money from the bank for a kitchen extension and then decide to use it to buy a new car, which is not what the bank wanted, and then they've got to repossess the
No.
car
Yeah.
if they want if you don't start repaying them properly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and the builder has the money that's owed to the plumber and the plumber's labourer, and also probably electrician and some other people in their bank account.
Yeah.
And perhaps they've got bills on another project where they're doing a loft conversion for somebody, and
Right.
they decide to use your money to pay for the bills on the loft conversion and not for the bills on the kitchen extension, and so
Yeah.
on and so on. So there's this incentive just to sit on money, and then they go bust all the time. It's an industry with a terrible record for insolvency, highest insolvency rate of any sector of the economy. And when they go bust, because they're sitting on everyone's money, the money disappears, and then the householder in this example is left um, out of pocket. So we don't deal
Yeah.
with domestic projects. That's not our market, but the
No.
logic
No.
is basically the same.
Yeah. And because you're dealing with these bigger projects, we're not talking small amounts of money here, are we? We're talking huge scale. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, into the billions.
Wow. Wow. Okay. It is quite shocking to hear how the lack of process and almost how basic this is, and considering the amount of risk and the amount of capital involved, I see why you are solving a problem here in this space. Before we kind of talk more about the solution, it's very interesting. You said you don't come from the sector, you come from a technology background. What helped you see the problem and what kind of motivated you to say, actually, do you know what, I'm going to found a business to help fix this?
Well, I sold or was in the process of selling my previous technology business back in 2022. And I wanted the next thing I did to be something I felt was going to make the world a better place in some way. So a bit cheesy, but true. And I started looking at renewable energy. I thought maybe I can work in that space and do something worthwhile with my time. Um, and through that, I started meeting people who built stuff. And one of them told me a story about what had happened to one of his subcontractors on a project, nothing to do with him actually, but it was the Shard, actually, the project. Uh, when they were building the Shard, this guy was an electrical subcontractor, family firm, both his sons worked in business, all that sort of stuff. And someone
Hmm.
above them in the supply chain went bust, and so they went unpaid. And the
Yeah.
consequences that this had on this guy's life, lost his home, lost his marriage. One of his sons tried to take his own life.
Oh my
Obviously, the
goodness.
business was gone. Complete disaster and totally unfair because he hadn't done anything wrong. He'd done the work and he'd paid all of his suppliers, and then someone else hadn't paid him, and he'd lost a business that he'd spent over 20 years building. Um, and that struck me as just very unfair and
Yeah.
you know something that didn't seem right. But also, um, just looking at it rationally, if that's your project, you don't want that sort of thing going on in the supply chain. That's not efficient.
No, no.
So then I just got interested. I discovered just how big this problem is. As I
Yeah.
said, biggest insolvency rate, highest insolvency rate of any sector of the economy, and huge problems with mental health in construction. And the financial pressure is a big contributor to those mental health problems. And there it was. There was a huge problem in a big sector, so lots of money to be made. It's a big commercial opportunity, but also one that if we could fix that problem was going to make the world a better place for tens of thousands of working people in this country, which felt like a good thing to do. So that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's very interesting, yeah, how you went from hearing this story to kind of going deep into the problem uh and it's not something, at least maybe for I don't know, people in a similar boat to me, it's not something you kind of hear about and see, um but when you explain it like that, it's like, wow, yeah, goodness me, and maybe I don't know, maybe this is part of the reason construction projects go slowly and things like this happen.
Yeah, it
Wow.
is. It's a societal problem for us because we all pay too much and it takes too long for us to build stuff. This isn't the only reason, obviously. There are lots and
No.
lots of
Okay.
reasons, but it is a
Hmm.
contributing factor, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's like a, a well-known dirty little secret, if you like, that we have
Right.
this scandalous, I think, problem in this very big sector, and people working in the sector
Yeah.
are all very aware of it. But
Yeah.
you and I, out on Civvy Street, don't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we've kind of spoken a little bit about the problem and yeah, how you got there. If we jump into the solution that you've built, how does that fix this really archaic payment problem? And how does that fix, like, if that was a really sad but important example of that family firm um, going out of business? Yeah, how do you solve for this? How does Sable solve for this?
Um, well, with Griffin's help, you'll be pleased to hear, as you know. Um, so we provide each project with its own bank account. So if we go back to the example that we were doing with the householder one, which is easy to
Yeah,
relate to,
yeah,
the kitchen extension would have its own bank account, which would be in
right.
the householder's name,
Okay.
but which has a legal trust structure that ring fences the money in the account, so it can't be
Ah,
used for other things. And
right.
while it's in that account, although the account is in the householder's name, because it's held in trust, if the householder goes
Right.
bankrupt, that money doesn't disappear into the insolvency process.
Ah,
It's protected.
okay, okay,
So that's the
okay.
basic sort of underlying mechanism, and that's called a
Yeah.
project bank account, and they've been around for 15 years in the UK. So that's a
Oh, okay,
known quantity.
okay.
The bit that's really interesting, I think, is first
Hmm.
of all, we make it very easy to open those and to do all of the trust paperwork and everything else, which is
Right.
where the sort of digital banking side comes in. But
Yeah.
what we've done also is we have separated the flow of the cash. So the cash is
Mhm.
now going into that bank account from the flow of
Yeah.
payment authority. So now the householder can, the money's in that bank account, they can
Yeah.
authorize a payment to the builder, no
Right.
money moves. The builder authorizes the payment to the plumber, no money moves. The plumber
Right.
authorizes the payment to their laborer.
Yeah.
And now we can divide up the money that's in that account and we can send the slice to the builder, the slice to the plumber, and the slice to the laborer all at the same time.
Ah. So oh wow, okay. So this means that everybody in that supply chain is then getting their fair share at the right point in time, and it's not kind of getting stuck at one of the layers. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no one at the top has all the money of the people beneath them anymore. They only get their slice of that. We call it a digital parallel payment account, or DIPA
Okay.
for short, um,
Okay.
to differentiate it from the project bank account. It's a project bank account under the hood, but
Yes.
it's the sort of the payment authority front end that
Mm.
differentiates it and really makes it sort of super powerful.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so there must be a huge, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a technology element to this, which is kind of calculating all of this and, yeah, making sure that, as you said, all of those authorizations are provided and then money's going down. Okay. And can your system, I'm guessing it's designed, well, yeah, not for the household example that we're talking, but it's designed for that scale of I don't know, the next shard or Crossrail 2 or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
we will go down to projects with a budget of about 1 million, so you could be doing domestic works there,
okay.
but it's
Yeah.
designed really for large scale, big residential, commercial infrastructure projects, all the
Yeah.
way up to, building entire housing estates or prisons or everything you can think of, roads, all those
Yeah.
sorts of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you've given me hope for my Grand Designs housing project, whenever that might come in the future.
Well, I've watched enough Grand Designs to know, Mo, that it's a good job you work in finance.
Well, let's see. Let's see. I'm still only watching, not actively participate. One day, a boy can dream. Um, okay, but that is absolutely fast. It's it when you explain it, and I'm sure you've explained this many times, and you've kind of it sounds very simple, but I also can kind of understand that behind the scenes there is probably so much complexity that you've had to to kind of boil down and put into this. But what
Yeah,
has the
it's
reception
like
been
being a
like?
bank, isn't it?
Sorry.
It's
Yeah.
easy, right? All you do is you take someone's money, look after it, and then when they ask for it, you send it where they asked it to go. It's easy.
Very simple.
No,
We've done a
luckily
few
there is.
episodes on it.
Luckily, I say there is quite a lot of technical complexity under the
Yeah,
hood. It's not easy to do,
yeah,
um, which is important for us because we're a first mover and we want a bit of a head start on other people coming into the market.
yeah. And how do you take a product like this, which is so kind of technology heavy, it's like at the forefront of what there is in the industry, and it's dealing with capital, with money. How do you take that to a construction firm and say, look, I'm going to simplify your life? Like, what has that journey kind of been like for you taking that to market?
Well, not straightforward as you can imagine. Actually, because it's not really a technology product. It's not.
Right.
It's not. That's not the difficult part.
Okay.
As far as our end users are concerned, they're just using an app like they would online banking. They don't. There's the fact that there's technology behind that doesn't really affect them. There's no big
Yeah.
integration that they need to do, so they don't see it as a
Okay.
technology sale,
Right.
which is deliberate, of course, because selling technology is quite difficult, as I know from
Yeah.
past
Yeah.
experience. Um, I think the things that have been hardest actually have been the, the the first bit was actually getting it all together. So our product's really got three. If it's a stool, it has three legs. Um, one of those is the technology itself, so the app,
Yeah.
and then everything that sits behind that.
Right.
Um, but then also we need the legal framework that we operate
Yes.
within, which
Yeah.
hits on trust law, insolvency law, construction law, and payment law.
Wow.
So
Okay.
quite a
Oof.
bit of our cash has gone to lawyers. And then the third leg
Yeah.
is the banking side of it,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
because it's not trivial to provide
No.
these accounts, and to go through the sort of all the regulatory stuff that needs to go with that as well. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
three-legged stool. Um,
Yeah.
from the customer's perspective, our customer is the householder, if you like. It's the client, construction client.
Okay.
All the
Yeah.
people in the supply chain, the builder, the plumber, and the labourer, they are
Yeah.
just users and beneficiaries of the system. They don't pay us any
Right.
money for it,
Right.
um,
Right.
but they still have to get their heads around it because it
Hmm.
does change their lives. Because they no longer
It,
have all of that money that they previously had in their accounts to do with as they wished. So
yeah.
their cash
Yeah.
flow has changed by this,
Hmm.
and some of
Hmm.
them are cash flow businesses. So I
Right.
think
Right.
it's fair to say that some of the people or some of the organizations at the top of the construction supply chain are closer
Yeah.
to finance companies than they are construction companies.
Wow. Okay. Wow. This is so fast. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not from, never been exposed to the construction. This is absolutely fascinating that all of these insights that you've got around how things work, and it's not often not how I imagined how
No, me
things.
neither. I've been on a real learning curve with this.
Yeah.
My co-founder is 30 years construction.
Right.
He's a civil engineer by background,
Yeah.
so there
Yeah.
is proper construction industry knowledge in the company. I've been learning on the job.
Yeah. Yeah. That is fascinating. Okay, so right, that makes sense that then you're not doing an implementation. It's not a big kind of technology sell. Um, but yeah, you're having to explain how cash flow might have to be, at least the principle of it is adjusted a little bit in this world. But there's more safety and security and guarantee in this with Sable rather than without, if I'm explaining that correctly.
Yeah, I am very, very popular with subcontractors.
Okay.
So all the
Yeah.
people like the plumber and the labourer,
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
they love what Sable does,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this is such a big headache for them, and it's constant risk and constant
Yeah.
stress in their businesses. So they love
Yeah.
it. A lot of contractors, a lot of the builders at the top
Yeah.
are
Hmm.
keen as well. In the private
Hmm.
sector, they don't necessarily trust the householder. They don't trust the client to pay them. Um,
Right.
so this means, if you think about it, if your project's funded by debt, so if I
Yeah.
was borrowing money from the bank to do my kitchen extension, the bank
Hmm.
pays its money straight into the project's account, not into the
Yes.
householder's account. So then
Yeah.
that the people working on that project can be reassured that that money is actually
Yeah.
going to reach them rather than the householder going buy a yacht or something. It depends how big your kitchen is sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There is, yeah, is huge value here. It's interesting. Yeah, it almost feels like there could be like pressure from the supply chain up to only work on projects that have Sable as the kind of payments tool in it,
Yeah,
because
be
without it, you don't have
nice.
that guarantee.
Be nice, wouldn't it? But unfortunately, if the supply chain had that sort of leverage, if they were that well organized
Mm,
together, they wouldn't have this
hmm.
problem.
Ah, okay.
The problem is it's very volatile. There are lots and lots of suppliers with
Yeah,
various different terms and conditions. There's always somebody who's willing to take a job on. Um,
right,
so the
right.
supply chain doesn't have the leverage to ensure that it
Hmm.
gets paid properly, and that's the problem.
Right, right. Wow, this is a really, really complicated, this is, but a very, very important one. The way you described it with the three-legged stool, I think also, as I've been kind of reflecting as we've been talking, like that's a lot of deep, like domain knowledge in three different areas that needs to all come together. But then that's why there's value here, I guess, because you're bringing it together in one solution, and helping things run super smoothly. Wow. What is next on the horizon for Sable? What are you especially excited about at the moment going into 2026? Yeah.
Um, well, 2025 was us building out and running our proof of concept. So we had the first project that used one of these, and it went end to end and completed, which was great. 2026 is about now taking that out to the market. We've got some pilots coming with the Environment Agency, with one of BAM Nuttall, which is a very large contractor, as the contractor on that. And that's all been pushed through by Cabinet Office and the infrastructure. There's a NISTA, they called the Infrastructure Authority at government. So they're looking
Yeah.
at this problem and looking at what's available to try to improve matters. Um, so there are lots of eyes on what we're doing in the
Yeah.
public and the private sector. In the private
Wow.
sector, incidentally, banks and insurers, uh, the lending banks and insurers, or in fact non-bank lenders as well, are very
Okay.
keen on this because it's a
Mm,
big risk
mm.
mitigator. It's
Yeah.
very simple.
Yeah.
Lending money is a
Yeah.
risk management business, really.
Yeah. And I guess, like you said, you almost, dare I use the word ring fence? It has many meanings depending on the context. But in a sense, you kind of ring fence the money, and yeah, you make sure it's flowing in the right places, and that's
Yeah,
a
it's ring
huge, as you
fenced in
said. Yeah. You,
a trust law sense.
okay. Yeah.
The ring
Yeah.
fencing that you're thinking of in banking is different.
Yes. Yeah.
Although, of course, we do rely on our bank um, to to do these things properly.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what one of the other joys of banking is, using a word innocently and then realizing, oh goodness me, it has 17 meanings, depending on the
Yeah,
context.
I've
And
been learning about that as well. Um, yeah, our head of compliance, who was our third hire, so employee number three
wow.
in Sable, was compliance because it's very important that we get all this stuff right.
Yeah.
Her background is she was previously the head of risk and fraud processes at Barclays PLC.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so she comes from a big bank background and from a
Yeah.
risk and fraud background, which was very important for us.
Yeah.
You know, we're a fintech, and fintechs don't always have the best reputations for these things.
No, it's good. I think one of the reasons is it's nice to work with a fintech. We consider ourselves sometimes a fintech, sometimes a bank, depends how you view it. But it's nice when, yeah, we're kind of aligned on that principle of like compliance is very important from day one, and it's not an afterthought. It's part of how the business wins, and um, it is very cool to hear that, yeah, you invested in that area early on. And I guess in a sense, I mean, you could maybe make the argument that some of the problems in the industry, the way you describe them, are from a kind of lack of compliance, lack of proper operational process as well, and oversight. So, yeah.
Yeah, we've tried to avoid that. I think because
Mm.
we're B2B, and the sums
Hmm.
of money that we're talking about are so
Hmm.
significant,
Yeah.
we've had to. Actually, it's been really interesting in the architecture of the product itself. Um,
Right.
the way that we have designed the payment, or the flow of payment authority. So every payment is authorized by the person paying, but the amount is also verified by the person who's receiving the payment. and then
Okay.
their identities are attached to that agreement. Um,
Okay.
and by doing that, uh, we a lot of that sort of by architecture designs out quite a lot of the sort of risks that you can get from things like people phishing and getting into somebody's email account and taking over their account.
Okay.
Because you
Yeah.
can't just go and set up a new payee. It's not straightforward to do that. And everything is
Yeah.
done by both parties together. So it's much
Yeah.
harder for a single point of entry, single vector,
Yeah.
attack vector um, to overturn those security measures.
Mm. Yeah. It's got that kind of digital handshake, which and it gives it that, I guess, gives it that record and that traceability as well, which would be very easy in that old system that you described for it to not be there and for there to just be a kind of a rogue payment that, as you say, an attack vector of, say, a phishing email or something could easily just yeah, make it happen. Goodness me. Um, a lot of problems being solved. What's with, with your,
Yes, you could
yeah,
say that, yeah.
yeah. What has been, Java, this is not your first, as you said, you're not your first technology business, a new sector for you. And as you said, you've learned a lot. What's been very kind of rewarding in your journey so far of building Sable?
I think the fact that Sable has a very clear mission. So we know what we're trying to do. Our business exists to change the payment culture in in the construction sector. That is our raison d'être. And because we have that, um, it's been amazingly easy to attract incredible people to work in the business. Um, People that we should have no right to be able to employ have come in and are working for the business because they want to do something that they feel makes a difference, I guess. So,
Yeah,
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 having a purpose that is fundamental rather than desperately having to come up with a purpose for your business after starting the business has been, I think, probably my favorite thing about doing this.
yeah. Would, is that yeah advice that you would give to say like a someone who's thinking of starting a company is like make sure you have that raison d'etre like early on and yeah you're not kind of like a business searching for a problem but you're taking a big problem and
No, no. My advice to people who are
interesting.
thinking of starting a business is find something that everybody else already understands and do that better than them. Um,
Okay, interesting,
I
interesting.
would
Yeah.
not recommend category creation. I've done it twice in my career, and it's extremely difficult.
Okay,
It's
okay.
like orders of magnitude harder than doing something that people already have a line in their budget for. Uh, so my strong, this is my own advice to myself as well. Like, if you do this again, just do hairdressing and just be a better
Do it better.
hairdresser.
Do you know what? I really, really appreciate the honesty of it. When you're scrolling through LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever you get your kind of your content, it's often the opposite. But that is really refreshing advice from a
Yeah,
founder. Go and
honestly,
yeah.
if you the first 15 minutes of your sales calls are explaining to people what the problem is that you solve and why they
Mm.
should care about it, then you're really doing something difficult. If they already know, so I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly because people in
Mm.
construction do know that this is a problem and they do
Okay.
quickly recognize the value, but
Yeah. Yeah.
there isn't anyone doing what we currently do.
Yeah.
It takes your brain has to do a click like that to
Okay.
understand it.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's much easier if people's brains have already done that click. It's
Hmm.
much
Hmm.
harder to differentiate, of course, if you
Yeah.
do that. But you
Yeah.
don't need to because all you need to do is gain market share.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's a bit. It reminds me of the story when Jeff Bezos was saying in an interview somewhere that the first round he was raising for Amazon, the first question that everyone asked him is, "What is the internet?" Like, really starting from the basics, and then well, it wasn't basic in I don't know the mid '90s or whenever that was, but it kind of to your point of like category creation and helping people's brain click. It's like you've really got to educate. You've got to take them over that step before that click happens. Yeah, that's super. Would you say that with the kind of government involvement, does it help that push slightly? Does it help kind of because that problem exists and there's kind of a desire to fix it? Would you say that's helping?
It helps that the problem exists and it costs people money. Um,
Hmm.
the public sector, selling to the public sector is different to selling to the private sector, and I'm still learning about that as well because I've
Okay.
not done it before. But people who work in the public sector and public sector organizations generally have different sets of drivers to those who work in the private sector. I did a
Yeah.
little survey on out to our subscribers of our newsletter,
Yeah.
anonymously asking which sector they worked in, and then of the six things that the benefits that Saible provides, could you rank them for us? And they were ranked in pretty much exactly opposite order, depending on whether you were a public sector or a private sector.
Wow.
It's amazing. Completely different things that matter to you. So then you have to think when you're doing your sales decks and things. I need to prioritize this set of things over here, and then a completely different set of things over here. And then we're dealing then with stakeholders like you've got lenders, and then you've got the client, and then you've got those people in the supply chain, and all of them have very different views of what's important as well. Like I was saying, don't do category creation.
Don't do it, folks. Yeah.
Although of course
But
it is great fun as well.
yeah,
So
and to play devil's advocate, it's because you've taken on like such a big problem that there is so much value in hopefully fixing it and scaling your solution, and it's changing people's lives. I think that was one of the. It's nice when a business really like has the end human like impact like at the forefront of their solution, and the way you kind of described the problem right at the beginning about that family firm. It's like yeah, if you can prevent thousands of these family firms going through what they went through, that is immense for the sector and for society as a whole. So
well, we look at it. The construction industry has a suicide rate which is about four times the national average. So about two construction workers or two people working in the sector take their own lives every working day in the UK. Um, if we can help one person not to do that, then our business will have had a reason to exist.
again, like that is not something that I would have guessed or um, but yeah, wow, okay, that really highlights the problem that
It's
exists.
not
Yeah.
just it's not just finance. There are lots of reasons why that's the
Okay.
case, but
Yeah.
the financial pressure that they're under is a major contributor to that.
Yeah.
So if we can
Yeah.
help to alleviate that, then perhaps we can help people.
Yeah. No, absolute pleasure to. I was going to say thank you anyway, Jarvey. It's a real pleasure to work together. It is really, really cool to see how you're tackling this huge problem that has so much benefit for society, hopefully, uh, when you do scale this and see it come to the vision that you folks have. Yeah, an absolute pleasure to do it, to work with you and play a tiny part in helping it come to life. So, yeah, thank you very much for chatting to us.